And we are live. This is Finlit Live, and it's your favorite insurance agent, DarnaldJr. And what's up, Finlit Live family? If you're watching live, put in the chat #live. If you're watching a replay, put in the chat #replay. I love to know where you are tuning in from, whether you're from Houston or India. I don't know where you're tuning in from. So go ahead and put in the chat where you're tuning in from so I can know where the audience is coming from. So just in a nutshell, this is the show where we talk about personal finances. And tonight, it's just you and me. So let's have a conversation. I like to update you guys on a couple things that are happening, that are about to happen. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and get lit. All right. So it's been a while since you and I had a conversation. So I've had guests on the show. So I like to, first of all, start off with the purpose behind the show and the purpose why I'm doing this and why I'm so passionate about educating people on personal finances is because, like, growing up, they didn't really teach how money works in school. They didn't teach it in elementary, middle school, high school. I actually have a Baylor business degree. They taught us how to evaluate a business, but they didn't teach us how to balance a checkbook or even how your credit score works. And so that's the heart behind the show, is so you could go to that next level in your personal finances. And I'm actually pretty well connected. And so what I do is I'll bring people live on the show and I interview them live and I open up to you, the audience, so you could get your questions answered. But one of the things that really inspired me, and my mom actually did this when I was a senior in high school, is she actually gave me a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. If you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, type in the chat, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it's by far been a life-changing book because Robert has an interesting philosophy towards money and towards finances. And if I could run part of the book for you guys, and the thing, my biggest takeaway from the book was the difference between active income and passive income. And active income is where you physically have to be there in order to make money. So it could be a job, a career, anything where you physically have to show up to be there. And passive income is where you're making money whether you're working or not. So it could be investments, it could be stocks, it could be real estate, it could be cryptocurrency, anything where you physically don't have to be there in order to make the money. And so what Robert encourages people to do in the book, and this is what the wealthy truly does, is they focus on building passive streams of income. Because if you have passive streams of income, you're going to be making money whether you're here, there, or anywhere. And that's how the truly wealthy get wealthy. And that's partially why I chose the profession I went into, because it does have the ability to build passive streams of income where you build a book of business and you're going to get paid whether you're working or not, which is exciting. And not many people have that type of opportunity. Like most people, if they stop working today, then they're not going to get a paycheck. And so that's an interesting place to be in. So, but it is what it is. And that's part of education, financial literacy. That's part of knowing what's out there. Because if you're not aware opportunities like that exist, then how can you pursue such opportunities? And realistically, the way our school system is designed to groom us to be employees, because our school system was invented, the system we have today was in the early 1900s. And that's when factories were becoming big. And so all these manufacturers needed people to be compliant employees that showed up when the bell rung. And then when the bell rung again, you go to lunch and then go back to work. And then the bell rung again and you could go home and be with your family. And that's a very, very outdated system. Like, we're going to have robots that literally are going to be able to do the exact same thing that humans were doing a century ago. And so we're in the technology age. We're in a new era in life. Like, computers didn't exist back then. Internet didn't exist. Artificial intelligence didn't exist. And this is the age we're stepping into. And so you got to be really proactive and think about, okay, what are some of the careers that artificial intelligence, can't take over, which they're going to take over a lot of careers, especially on the manufacturing side. And then also, what's a recession-proof industry? Because there's a lot of industries that are going to be affected. Like, everybody's predicting that we're about to go through a major recession. One of the big hot topics in personal finances and financial literacy right now is the interest rates for mortgage. So mortgage rates hit over 8% for the first time in over 2 decades. And it was fine 2 decades ago because guess what? The price of the houses were lower, and now the prices are high. Prices of houses are really high, and the interest rate is high. So it's creating this interesting dynamic in the housing market where the people that have lower interest rates, they don't want to sell their house because they're going to have to go out and buy and find an interest rate that's higher than what they're paying, and so they're staying put, and so they don't want to sell their house, and there's not many people willing to sell. So since people aren't selling their houses, the prices are staying stable, if not still going up in some markets. And obviously in some cities it's going down. But I know here in Houston, property values are still increasing, which blows my mind. And so for millennials, people that are younger than millennials, they're having a hard time becoming first-time home buyers because of that situation. And so that's why it's important to understand financial literacy, because Robert actually talks about this in Rich Dad Poor Dad, that if you own a home, like most people consider a home an asset. An asset is where it's valuable for you. It's designed to make money. But in the book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, he actually says your home is a liability. Your home is a liability because you have to spend money. You have to do things to maintain it. You have bills, utility bills to pay for. And this is part of financial literacy, is understanding the difference between what's an asset, what's a liability. And he simply puts, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. And unless you rent out a room or something, then your house that you live in is a liability because it's ultimately taking money out of your pocket. So just understanding those different dynamics. But one of the things he talks about in the book is that if you have like a duplex or triplex and you stay in one of the triplexes and then you rent out the other two and have the rent be just enough to cover the mortgage, then you're basically living for free. And the advantage of that is that it doesn't matter what the interest rates are. If you have rental properties and your rent is higher than whatever your mortgage is, then you're winning because ultimately your renters are paying down the equity on that house, and you're building a portfolio, you're building your net worth based on paying down the mortgage. And then, so it doesn't matter what the interest rates are. So if you have an entrepreneurial mentality, if you have the desire to build that passive stream of income, like he talks about in the book, then it's a great time to buy a house. It's a great time to buy apartments and duplexes because ultimately there's going to be a lot of people that are renting. They can't even make that first step and purchasing a house now. And so it's so funny because I follow the housing market pretty regularly and just keep tabs on it. My wife and I, we bought our house in 2019, and it's been awesome timing because we moved in right before COVID happened, which is great. And then we were able to do a refi a couple years later, which was great. And we actually, impeccable timing, got the bottom of the market, got a phenomenal interest rate. And so, but that's nothing but God, because we couldn't have done it ourselves at all. It just, circumstances happen. But the reality is, even with the high interest rates, if you know personal finances, if you know how to capitalize on today's environment, then it's still a good time to buy if you're going to use it for rental property, as long as you're able to charge more than you're paying on your mortgage. And so this is part of financial literacy, is understanding these dynamics and not being swayed by the news and saying, oh, nobody's selling their house, nobody's buying, yada, yada, yada. But if you understand, hey, if I buy a house, the mortgage is here, I could charge this, then it makes sense. If it makes dollars, it makes sense. So that's the heart behind the show, is to be able to educate you guys on things like this, because awareness is half the battle. Most people aren't even aware that opportunities like this exist. And if you're aware, that's half the battle. I always say the difference between where you want to be and where you are financially is knowledge, and not just knowledge, but application of that knowledge. It's one thing to know something, but if you don't apply it, then it's as if you didn't know it anyways. And in my book, that's what I call wisdom. Like it's prudent for you to think through the consequences of your actions, which is great. So that's my little soapbox for today. If you have any comments, like put them in the comments. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let me know where you're tuning in from. It's just you and I, we're talking today. If you have any thoughts, who's read Rich Dad Poor Dad? What's some key takeaways you took from the book? If you never read Rich Dad Poor Dad, they actually have it on YouTube. They have an audiobook. It's a 6-hour audiobook on YouTube where you could go and listen to it for free. So you could get amazing knowledge for free on YouTube. I call it YouTube University. So I highly, highly recommend it. You could listen to it as you're driving. They call it Car University, right? You could get literally a college education based on the information that's on YouTube, on Spotify, on podcasts that are, it's across the board. There's a lot of knowledge that's out there. So with that, I'd like to make a couple of announcements that's happening. I've been working with East Harris County Empowerment Council lately, and we've been doing an entrepreneurship class where we're actually teaching people how to write a business plan and put a business plan together. And if that's something you're interested in, put a comment in the chat. I have other resources for those that want to put a business plan together that you could actually go on your own self-paced program, and it's completely free, which is awesome. So if you have a desire to start your own business, or if you know somebody that does, definitely refer them to this video so that I can get that information out to them. But with that, we have put together these workshops for small business owners. And I know this is personal finance, but it's all correlated. Like if you're a small business owner, you have to be able to know how to make money, because you won't be able to pay your bills without making money, right? So we have 3 different workshops that are coming up. And the first one is actually this Saturday, October 28th. It's going to be in person, and we're talking about the art of networking. You probably heard the phrase, your network is your net worth. And there's a lot of truth to that statement. Like, it's about who you know. And more importantly, not just who you know, but who knows you. Because you can know everybody in the world. You can know who Justin Bieber is, but if Justin Bieber don't know who you are, then you can't really make a good connection. So that's the purpose of networking, is to be able to connect with people, to build relationships. And it could be personal relationships. It could be business relationships. Y'all could brainstorm together. You could come together and do big things. And so we're going to talk about, how do you do a pitch at a networking event? We're going to talk about how to follow up after you do a networking event, because in networking, the fortune's in the follow-up. I know I've made some of my most amazing connections after the networking event, and that's the best way to network, because once again, if they don't know who you are, then they're not going to follow up, and you got to take initiative. So that's going to be on October 28th from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. It's at San Jack Generation Park, which is on 13455 Lockwood Road. So if you're available this Saturday, come check it out. It's completely free. I'm going to put the link in the chat so you could be able to register for any of these. If you're interested in 1, 2, or all 3 of them, you're welcome to come. So the next one is the art of marketing. And the nice part about the art of marketing is that one's going to be virtual. So you don't have to go anywhere. You could do it from your bed if you want to. So we have a guest speaker that's coming in, and he's going to talk about a lot of different ways you can market your business. And even if you're not in business, like a lot of times, if you look on social media now, people are marketing themselves. People are coming out with a personal brand. And that's going to be huge, because once again, it's about who knows you, and marketing is what it's all about. Like, I always talk about how teachers are like the backbone of our society. Like, without a teacher, we wouldn't have any career, and they get paid chump change compared to a football player, right? An NFL football player. And I always ask people, why do you think football players get paid millions when teachers get paid relatively chump change compared to a football player? And if you never thought about it, it's all because of marketing. Because a lot of people will tune in on Sundays. They'll tune in to watch the NFL. They'll tune in on Saturdays to watch the college football. And since they get a lot of eyeballs, the networks are able to sell this to the companies that want to get eyeballs on their product or their service. And the more eyeballs they're able to generate, then the more ad revenue they're able to generate. And so since a lot of people watch these sports, like the World Series, unfortunately, our Houston Astros just lost to the Texas Rangers yesterday, which is so tragic for Houston. But guess what? A lot of people tuned in. It was Game 7. Everybody was on the edge. It's like, okay, who's going to take it? It's going to be Astros. It's going to be the Rangers. And I bet those networks charge an astronomical amount of money to the companies to be able to advertise during that game, because they have millions of eyeballs. So I always love the phrase, and jot this down if you never heard it: money flows where attention goes. Money flows where attention goes. So the more attention you could get, then more money is going to flow your direction. Because think about the Kardashians. What are the Kardashians known for? they're just famous for being famous, right? People like they haven't done anything of significant value for humanity except for being famous. And because they're famous, whatever product they pitch, guess what? People are going to buy it, all because they're recognizable. People know who they are. At one point, I think Kylie Jenner was reported to be the youngest billionaire in the world. So that was interesting, but it's because of her name, right? So that's what marketing is all about. They're masterful at marketing. Love them or hate them, Donald Trump is a masterful marketer. That's what he does. He gets your attention, even if you hate him. And the fact that you hate him, like that's adding to his brand because he's getting your attention. Like he's breaking through the noise of all the advertisements and everything. So there's a science and art to it. And so we're going to be talking about that at our workshop on November 11th from 3 p.m. to 4:30. And so you get to find out how to advertise your business, your service, advertise yourself, your brand, if you want to get yourself out there so people know who you are. So you could, be connected to your community and be able to do powerful things. And then this last workshop is the art of sales. And this is my bread and butter. This is my heart. I've been in sales for over 2 decades now. And so I'm going to be teaching this one. It's going to be in person. So I love the fact that it's in person because it's not just going to be me talking. We get the role play. We get to implement the principles of sales. And ultimately what sales boils down to for me is understanding people. If you understand people, then you'll understand sales. And I'm going to teach you about the different personality styles, why people do what they do, because if you understand why people do what they do, it's easy to influence them. Because for most people, it's subconscious, and the fact that you're going to be conscious about it is going to take you to that next level. And so I love it. So December 2nd is going to be that one. Once again, it's in person, 3 p.m. to 4:30 at San Jack Generations Park at 13455 Lockwood Road, Houston, Texas. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys, let you know there's a lot of great resources out there. And guess what? All these resources are going to be free 99. Most people will take it for granted because if it is free, like most people take it for granted. But if we charge $500, $1,000, $5,000 for the same information, then you could take that information and apply it to your life, and you're gonna value it more. And it's unfortunate how that works. And it's the same with our school system, since like kindergarten through 12th grade is free. Like people take it for granted, the amount of knowledge that they can learn in school. But because when people go to university, you actually have to pay money, people will start to take it more seriously. I know people that struggle from K to 12, but once they went into college, they actually started making A's and B's because they're like, wow, I have to pay for this. I have to put some skin in the game. And so I wish we charged for these workshops, but we're not. And so don't take that for granted that we're not, because these workshops could literally change your life. It could be the difference between where you're at now and where you want to be. And so they help you hit your goals. So I'm super excited about those workshops, and I just want to share those with you guys. Once again, I'm going to put the link in the chat. In fact, let me do that right now so I could go to all the platforms at the same time. In the comment section here. And let me know what type of subjects you guys like to learn about and hear about in future episodes. Because once again, I'm connected. We do have guests lined up all the way through December, which is super exciting. Today's guest had to go to a wedding reception or a wedding rehearsal, so she couldn't make it. So you got me today. So hopefully you got some value out of today. Hopefully you learned something. I love learning what sticks out to you guys the most. So if you learned anything in today's show, go ahead and type it in the chat. I love to hear what resonated with you, something that you could immediately apply to your life immediately. So I don't like talking just to talk. I rather talk where people get value and get something out of it, because that's all this is about, is sharing the knowledge, sharing the literacy, and helping people go to that next level. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out with me on your Tuesday night. And we're going to be back same that time, same that station, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I appreciate you guys for getting lit.